We're here back at It's Time Podcast with Sam Nunez.
Christopher Lopez.
Goddamn Sam.
And welcome, we have Ruben Alvarez, all the way from California, originally from California, now in El Paso. You might have seen him on, TED Talks, Forbes magazine, and he's a brand ambassador for marketing and has a marketing background, and he currently is operating Brand Sharks. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. I mean, in Houston, you guys are on the top of a building, and
yes.
It's a fucking good day. You know?
It is a good day.
Right.
Definitely.
So Brand Sharks. Can you tell us a little about Brand Sharks? What is it? How did you come up with it? And what are y'all doing?
Yeah, so Brand Sharks was funny because like I create brands for other people, and then I don't know if you guys were ever on Clubhouse when it came out,
Right.
And so there was somebody that was there, and I would show up, and I would have like the brand title and everything, and he's like, "It's a Brand Shark," and then from there, someone just like, I wanted to make a book, and I
Right.
reached out to a publisher that I know. And he's like, one, you don't have time. Two, you probably shouldn't be spending that much money. Why don't you just do a co-authoring project? And I was like, all right, let's do a co-authoring project. Whatever, that makes sense. So he's like, what are you going to call it? I was like, oh, let's call it Brand Sharks. And let's get all the Brand Sharks
It's
together.
catchy. It's a catchy name.
Yeah, and so from there, it just stuck. And that's everywhere I go. Everyone's like, oh, it's the Brand Shark. I'm like, yeah, all right, that works.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, nice.
So what was you into as a kid?
Pokemon, still am. I
Yeah.
have a kid now, so I'm lucky that he decided to get back into it. So that got me all back into that world.
So boy, girl.
I have a boy. He's 6.
6?
Yeah, my girl's 2.
Okay.
So I have 2 of them, and so yeah, Pokemon, chess. I like math. No, that's wrong. Like it's the same thing as like sales, right? Like we say like we
Yeah.
like sales, but nobody really likes sales.
Yeah. Like the results of
I
sales.
I was good at math, so therefore
Okay.
I liked it because everybody
Okay.
complained about it, right? So
Right.
I felt like I had a one up on people. But yeah, I'll just normal stuff like trading cards, games, video
Right,
games, all that
right.
stuff. So.
So are they inclusive into your business? Do you show them like how to brand and do all that stuff? Are they are they aware of you being an entrepreneur?
Yeah, my kid, he's more like his mom creative, so he has no interest whatsoever in like trying really hard or doing anything. He's in sports, he's competitive, but if I tell him like, hey, you should do this, he's like, nah, fuck you. You know, my daughter,
Right.
yeah, my daughter, she's the complete opposite. She's the type that you could tell her no 10 times and she's like gonna do it because she wants to do it. So she's just hard-headed. I'm like, all right, so she's gonna be the CEO. He's gonna probably be like,
Yeah.
an artist in his 20s.
It's
living in a
crazy how
garage.
your kids, your sons, you hope your son's gonna follow
Yeah.
the way and end up being your daughters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. All right.
Yeah, it's-
So going back to the Brand Shark. So you said that the Brand Shark itself was something that it was a group of people or people that you do your marketing, your branding in that time, and
Yeah, we have a book. The
Uh-huh.
first book was called Brand Sharks Volume 1, and then we're doing the second one, Volume 2, which is like more people in this one. But it's, I don't know, things get dropped in your lap, right? So
Yeah.
the first book I put out, and I was like, okay, cool, I have cred, I have authority, I'm an author now. But then the other people, I started doing stuff with those people, and I'm like, okay, if I do this again, now I have another group, and then if I do it again, now I have another group. And so it just started building this collective group or like a syndicate that we all share something really in common, and therefore like we're able to build off of each other. So there was a lot of benefits to it, and I just kind of ran with it.
Do you feel like when you're doing a book and coming out with stuff that you're reflecting on your knowledge base, right?
Yeah.
As you continue to do books and you continue to grow in your field, do you feel like, what is your takeaway? Is it like from doing a book, and what are your experiences? Like, are you like reflecting and saying, man, I'm gonna put this book in action. I'm gonna go and preach what I'm, practice what I'm preaching. But then as you go and do that and evolve that, but it makes you want to write another one because you've learned some lessons and you keep learning lessons and writing
It depends
books.
on your mindset and who
Yeah.
you are, right? The first book I wrote, I was embarrassed after I wrote it. Like I put it out and I was like, this is a great book. Like a year passes and I was like, I can't believe people are gonna read this shit. Like I was so embarrassed because I was like, I know so much more than this. This is like so amateur. And so
So
the
it's
first
Brand
one,
Baby Shark.
yeah, the first.
Brand Baby Shark.
The first one, your first book's gonna suck. Like you should just get that out of the way, write it, and just know it's gonna suck. That way, when you read it back, you're like, oh man, you already knew that it was gonna suck, right?
Okay.
And then the second part of it is that you do want to write another book. And the first book that you write is so base level because you don't know how to write, you don't know what people are going to want to hear from you. But the second one, I feel like now that I'm writing the second one, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go. And I was afraid of kind of exposing what branding really is, like the psychology, how people trick you, how they can really like pretend that they're something, and then they take your money and everything. So in the second one, that's kind of what I'm writing about. I'm like, branding is bullshit. Reality, like, it's just manipulating human psychology to be able to get what they want from you. And I wrote it in a way where it's like, I'm gonna take you through these things, and I'm gonna show you how people can manipulate you, so that way you don't get manipulated.
Right.
So it's like the second book is a lot more, oh shit, and the first one was more like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Like, I can follow some of these steps.
So is it like using your branding power for good or using it for bad, basically?
Correct. So that's one side of it, like, if you're gonna do it, and then the other side of it is like, as a consumer, how can you make sure that they don't mess with you? Like Apple's a prime example, right? Like, they put out the watches and you thought you were gonna go swimming and hiking, and you have all that. Like, even their new commercial, they have the action mode, and they have the mom that's like running with the kid, and you're just like, oh cool, I'm gonna be able to capture all those moments, and you don't even like use your phone that way.
That's so true. Like the first Gen Apple Watch, I got it for Christmas, and I went swimming right away, and they call me and they're like, hey, how you like your watch? I was like, man, I just went for a swim. Like, this is amazing. They're like, wait, you went swimming with the watch? I was like, yeah, it's an Apple Watch. It's waterproof. And you're like, no, it's not waterproof. And I was like, oh, hey, okay.
Yeah.
Bad branding.
You got to read the fine letter. They tell you can't go between a certain amount
of
yeah. You can only dip it and that's it.
Right, exactly. So it's a splash proof.
Yeah.
So for entrepreneurs that are watching and they're getting started, and they have no idea, they think they know about branding and marketing, but I think it's affirmed when you start actually spending money on marketing, right?
Yeah.
You get $1, and you should generate $8, but some people are, spending $1 and making negative $8.
Yeah.
So as an entrepreneur starting out, what should an entrepreneur start off with branding? Like how to form branding, or what platforms to do it? I know it probably depends on product, but what is like branding 101 for a new entrepreneur?
Yeah, the thing with branding and advertising are pretty much like the things that you do after you build a following or develop sales, right? Unless you have like a company that had investors and things like that, right? Because then you have a few dollars that you have that you can spend and then give it time to grow. But the problem is that most people have a failing company, or they're starting a company and they're like, hey, let me give you, and then you're like, all right, cool, $2,500 a month for ads, and then the ads are going to take about a year because you're developing that following and everything. And so most business owners don't realize, like, I don't have a following, I'm going to try to get somebody to say my company, and then it fails regardless, because you're the one that's supposed to make the sales. The marketing is just supposed to expand what you already have, right? And so that's the problem. But if you're starting your own company and you want to brand yourself, or you want to brand the company, really start with like, okay, a brand vision is kind of like a company vision, right? Where you have like, okay, this is the mission that we're going to put out, and you share it with people. The brand vision and mission, you don't actually share with anyone. That's something that's like, this is what I want people to say when I'm not in the room. And then if you ever like run into someone and they say the exact thing, you're like, all right, cool, I'm pretty spot on. Like, I believe Coke was, their mission was, their brand vision was, we want to make sure that people know that we create products that make people happy, or something like that.
Right.
And
so
it's
like,
like,
the voice of the company.
Completely, but it's like so high level, right? Because it's like, we're not making sugary drinks, we're making products that make people happy. Right? And so you think of like the Coca-Cola bear, right? And you just think of a polar bear right away, it's like Coca-Cola. So it's like the way that they're able to put that all together is the way that people really need to think about branding. It's like, okay, so one, I'm going to make a video. What do I want people to feel? What do I want them to think about the brand? A lot of the times, like when I make videos, I'm always in a suit because it's premium, right? It just feels like it's premium, high level. I'm older, I'm more mature. And so it just plays into everything. Everywhere I go, I'm always in a suit. If it's local, because I know that most of my customers are local, and they have to see and expect a certain perception in order for them to, go with us.
Right.
So as far as like social media, how does social media play a big part in your business? Really make it a two-part question.
Yeah.
Like, via not having social media and then now having social media, how does that play a part in your business?
We always talk about this, right? I don't know if you guys have ever had like a sales job with like an old manager, right? Like that's like 50 or 60 years old, but they always say like the 7 touches. Right? They were always like, oh no, you gotta you call them one day and then they don't buy, and then the next day you gotta send them an email. Yeah. And then the third day you call them about the weather. And you're like,
that's an analog funnel.
Oh my god, dude, I hated that. I had this manager, 7 touches, big white dude, right? He's like in his 50s. He's 7 touches. He's like, what have you called him about? And I was like, oh, I called him yesterday. He's like, call him about the baseball game today. I was like, I don't want to call him about the fucking baseball game. I hate baseball.
Keep touching them. Keep touching them.
Yeah, exactly. And I always hated that too. It's like, I want to touch no one.
Right. Yeah.
Hey.
So social media, what it does is it gives you those quote 7 touches prior to them ever even seeing you. So that's like the really cool part, right? Is like before you would have to call them and email them after you had that initial contact. Now you can add them on social media. They see a few of your posts that has to do exactly what you're trying to sell them. And then by the time that they call you or you call them, they're just like, oh, I've already seen what you do. You seem really credible. I actually did all the research. You work with these people. Yeah, let's do it.
So there's a lot of technology now that automates the 7 touches, right?
Oh, for sure.
But there's so much automation that I see out there, even being a business owner and establishing your funnels and doing all this stuff, and then evolving your funnels as well. How do you go through and vet the technology that's applicable for a brand? Like, what does that technology look like, and how do you know, like, to trust that technology in order to continue and align your branding?
Yeah, the hardest part of automation is that it seems disgenuine and inauthentic, right? So any technology that is going to work, you can't trust it fully. You have to be able to just say, not like, I'm just going to plug in this stuff in and then that's it and forget about it.
Yeah.
You really have to see, like, what's the reaction on it? Does it seem well enough? And then if it doesn't, you have to go and manipulate all the stuff that you have, all the content, to make sure that people don't think that you're just a robot and you don't even care. You're just trying to sell them on stuff.
So you got to jump in every now and then. And
oh, yeah. Like, it's still work, right? I think that most people think automations are going to solve all my problems.
How often do you get into it? How often do you go in there and you jump in?
I would do it daily. Like, it's the same as ads, right? Like, you go daily, and then once you see an ad that works, you stop going. It's the same thing. You have an automation. You do it daily. Once you see that it's getting good results, then you just leave that one, and you can move on to something else. The only automation that I've seen, which is kind of taboo, right, because people don't like to talk about it, is the ones that give you like Instagram. Before it was like a follow for follow, and then like, unlike, and you would, and then now there was one that was a really cool one where you could, I believe, send a comment to every single story when they released that one. Now there's one that does like a like for every story. That one is pretty automated. That one, you buy once and does it. The downside is that Instagram could take your account because then they see that a bot's working. But most other automations don't work that way. They're not just automatic where it seems really genuine. They could tell, right? Like, it's like, it's an email went out today, and then it went out 3 days, and then it went out 5 days, and it's just like, all right, I'm on a cycle for these people.
I've seen some guys. They show me, like, they're like, look, hey, this girl liked my thing, and I was like, dude, that's a robot.
Yeah.
Like,
right.
They don't really like you.
And you know what? I go through, whenever I get those, I just go block them.
Yeah.
It's really irritating because you're thinking that you're getting something.
Another one that I don't like is the LinkedIn one where people friend request you. And I'm like, okay, yeah, we have a connection. And it's like, oh, by the way, what are you doing? Like, can I schedule a call? I'm like, I'm going to block you now.
Yeah, I'm not trying to sell you anything.
Oh, man, I block.
Yeah. Like,
yeah.
And sometimes you get confrontational where you can be like, hey, like, trying to test that to see if it's really somebody or not.
Yeah.
But yeah, so this, being genuine in marketing is important. I feel like a good way to do it, too, is like, when you close a sale or a deal, use automation in that to interact with the client, like introduce them to your automation, and then on the back end, fulfill service, apply automation, and I think once you become well equipped or well established with your clients, then you can fulfill automation and add more to their plate. Yeah. But trying to reel people in with automation is not really the best practice, I think. I think products, your service and products should bring your client in, build trust with them, and then use automation against them.
To maintain it.
Yeah, to maintain it.
Exactly.
Where do you see you and your vision in your company and what you do? Where do you see yourself in the next 5-10 years? 5-10
years. So it's funny. I recently got this mentor. I've had a hard time finding a mentor, right? But I recently found one, and he said, why is your company different, or what do you guys have that's different? What can you see 4 or 5 years in the future? And then do you have anything like a 30-day or a year plan or a 2-year plan? I told him I have about a year plan. And he goes, okay, you got to go 2 years. So just kind of going to your question, right? He goes, you got to go 2 years because I guarantee you your competitors, one, will either not have a plan or they'll have a 1-year plan. So if you're going 2 years into the future, you can see closer to that.
Majority of the people don't even have a plan.
Exactly. So he's like, if you go 2 years, you'll be way ahead, right?
But wake up and do whatever.
Yeah, but the other thing is marketing is ever changing. So most people and most companies, even though they are marketing, they stay on the past trend, and then when the new one comes in and they take so long to implement it, that it takes them forever. So in 5 years, we're either going to be the top marketing company in El Paso, or I'll have sold it for a bunch and then started either a speaking company or something else.
Okay.
So what's some trials and tribulations you went through to get you to where you are now?
Well, before, right? Before I had the marketing company, I put a lot of faith and trust into one guy when I was in manufacturing that I would, make partner. And after 7 years, he, what's funny is he gave me $5,000 when he sold the company, right? He sold the company, gave me $5,000, said, hey, thank you for everything, and then just walked away. When my son was born, I can't remember if it was when my son was born or something else happened, he gave me $7,000. When he sold the company, he gave me less. Then it was just weird, right? Like, it was just such a slap in the face. But that was one of them. I put way too much trust and faith into like one person. And then the second one recently was the expansion of the company. Everybody talks about like SOPs and systems and everything. Nobody really. I feel like there's very few people that really know how to make them right. So that way nobody overlaps. People aren't clashing. Everybody says they have a system, but being in like that other company, that was a manufacturing company, we were doing like total $14 million a year. The systems we had, we could have scaled so much higher. It was just those systems, right? And so even when you're making a ton of money, like, you can have really shitty systems and just pretend like, oh, my SOPs are fine. Like, we have systems. No, you don't, Okay. So that was a really hard one for us to understand. But we have our systems pretty good now. So
did you bring those lessons learned forward to where now you're creating SOPs and standards that you, are let me ask this a different way. Do you feel like you're building a company that you plan to sell, or you plan on keeping this as a generational asset?
I don't know if it's a generational asset, right? Because I don't know if my family or marketing stays around that long, especially with ads going away and people really disliking the whole feeling of like being sold and stuff. I am building it to make money, whether that's being sold or not sold. I think the main goal at the end of it is for me to be a public speaker, right, and have some sort of authority there. So whether that comes as keeping the company and funneling leads that way, or basically just selling it at some point where we've grown enough and I can bring my team with me, I'm not sure.
Okay.
So you're talking about personal brand then?
Yes.
Building a personal brand.
Yeah.
Okay.
What's some books you read that pretty much equip you for your journey?
So I really like this book. It's called Attention Merchants. And so what's cool about this one is it talks about one, how the masses really perceive things, right? Like what gets the masses going, and then also what works for people. So I take a lot of things from stories. One of them, it talks about like MTV and how MTV was dying as a music video company, and then how they transitioned over to the real world, and then how that made them take off and they were relevant again. And it also talks about, believe it or not, like Adolf Hitler, and it talks about how like what he did was he would get people going because he would, one, have all of his people come up, and then the moment that he was coming up, they would like start chanting, and then he would have these big flags that he would put everywhere, and so like everybody was tunneled in because they couldn't even see anything pass on the streets or anything. It was just only him. And so the way is like there's so many things that you can do to get people to pay attention to you. And that's what it is. It's like we call them like influencers now, but an attention merchant is somebody who's just literally getting the attention and selling it, right? Like it's Google, it's Facebook, it's everyone, and it's like how can you get the attention of people and then have it be beneficial for you? Like basically sell it at some point.
I like the story I like the story of one of your the TED Talk you did was talking about the 52 books and reading and whatnot. I'm not an avid reader. I have a bunch of education and I just never really got into reading, but I started like pursuing people that wrote the books. And started like trying to keep them in my circle. So being an avid reader, do you find yourself reading a lot more now and trying to grow, or trying to grow through your network and doing business?
Dude, that's a hard one because like I used to love books and now I find it so hard to read them. Because
must be a thing.
No, it's weird, right? Because I want to read them, but at the same time, I'm like, I feel like I already know this, so what else can I learn? And then I'm like, no, that's ego. I'm stupid. Like, let's read some books, you know? But I'm like, okay, so what else can I learn about branding, right? Because it seems like it's very core concepts, right? It's like, okay, there's perception, there's the vision, the mission, there's the colors, there's like what the emotions and everything, right? And so I read another book, and I'm like, why don't I just reread the book that I bought and kind of, go more into that one? So
I think this. People read books. They have so much information in their mind, but they don't know how to put it to action. They don't know how to. I met a lot of smart people. Very smart people are like, oh, I know this and that. I'm like, wow, bro, you're very smart, but they don't know how to put it.
They know the whole menu. Like I feel it's a menu thing, right? When people sit down, you're reading the menu, and you're just reading the menu, and I'm just like, order already. Order. Let this in. Order something. But people just sit there and read the menu, and I found myself reading the menu so much for so long that it's like I'm gonna stop reading the menu. I'll reference the menu when I need to order something, but I'm not gonna just sit there and read the menu the whole entire time.
Yeah, well, that's the paradox of choice, right? Too many choices, you take none.
Yeah.
And then, you can have a information overload if you read too much. Just think about it. You find yourself, all you do is read, but you never got time to, like you say, to put it into action. But I look at reading like this here. A lot of the books be talking the same thing, but they come from different authors, so they tell it to you in a different way. And there's certain things in all of our lines of business that we supposed to keep in mind. And we can't remember everything, so I think about reading this for as like, every day by me reading, it's basically sharpening my mind to remind me something that I might have forgot about. Yeah. But sitting up all day reading, I don't think it's a great idea. You got to put it to action in some kind of way. Take your notes and keep it moving.
Permanent book club.
Yeah. But I love reading. I do it every morning. Every morning.
What do you read?
Right now I'm reading Deep Work by Cal Newport. Okay. And I'm reading Scarface book. Rapper Scarface. I'm reading this book, but one of my favorite ones was 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, and
that's a good book.
Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck.
That was a good book too. You're gonna hate me. I couldn't get into 7 Habits.
I
couldn't do it after like the second one. I put it down, and then I was like, there must be something wrong with me because everybody keeps talking. Picked it up, put it back down.
The thing about it, it's a good book, but it takes time. And one thing about that book, it helped me out in one of my relationships because it talks about listening. A lot of people be listening to react, but they're not listening to really feed off of the conversation. So that book tells you a lot about that. Then it talks about paradigms and understanding how other people see things different kind of ways, and for you to be open for other people's ways of seeing and doing things. So it was a hard book to read because you like, okay, I'm tired of reading this. But once I got done, I felt like I finished the college course, and I'll never read it again. I'm
gonna have to go back to try to read it. But if I don't do it, I'm gonna.
Reference it. Like my girl, she's been reading it right now, and she's been on it probably about 3 months, but she'll be on it, she'll read it faithfully, and then she'll stop for a little bit because it's a long book. It's a very long book, but once you read it, you'll start dealing with people in a whole different way because it's just what it helps you does. It's like 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Yeah. And then it's about 2, like a lot of people could be saying they're busy, but you can be busy but not really being effective and not really getting the work done.
Busy but not productive.
Yeah, exactly. So
You guys read 48 Laws of Power?
I read that book.
I started it off the first page and I never finished.
Okay. But you know what? I didn't like that book.
Yeah, I didn't like it. It seemed like manipulation.
I don't. I mean, I understand the concept behind it. Yeah. I understand. You know, I read the Prince. I read that one too and everything. So I read all these books years ago, and you know, it's 2 things. You know, you can use it as a good thing to analyze the whole thing, or you can use it as not a good way. You know, so it depends on the individual. You know.
So believe it or not, that's a great branding book.
Yeah.
Great branding book because that's again it's human psychology and manipulation of things to make yourself look in a specific way.
It is.
Another book is Damn Good Advice. It's I forgot his name, but he does a lot of marketing, like the MTV stuff you was talking about. Every page is like short pages, like a little small book, but he talks about different ways of marketing. So he did like a lot of the marketing for MTV. He did he did something for a company where they was asking him to come up with a marketing plan for a company called 2020 Square. And the way he did it, he did like the 20 and then he put a square as the 0. And he was basically saying like marketing is just basically it's not about trying to psych the mind, but it's about basically making it familiar with the person and making them fall in love with it. And like that book there, like it gave me so many ideas when it came to making commercials for different things and branding. So
I think a lot too that I like to spend more time on is becoming a better person and showing up better for people that are involved in what my dreams and goals are. Yeah. And I feel like the more I pour into that is like I've never been able to fully fulfill it, and I never will, because we keep evolving and doing better. Like what is I think as an entrepreneur, when you come into it, you don't realize how much it takes for you to change to become successful. Yeah. What is the biggest kind of thing that you've had to grow from and change as a person to where it's like I need to be like I need to get rid of my ego or my pride or certain things like that.
Yeah, well, that's the hardest thing of like being a public figure, right? Is the ego, but also being humble.
Yeah.
Right. Which, by the way, humble is a horrible word.
I don't like that word.
No. So, have you seen what it means?
I haven't dived into it.
Yeah, the actual word means that you diminish yourself to make someone else feel better.
Yeah.
That's what it actually means. Like more.
Well,
or less,
let me tell you something. I'll never.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna do that.
We're not dimming our light for nobody.
I ain't doing that, man.
Yeah. But it's a horrible definition, right? But if you weren't using that word, it's you have an ego, but also, I mean, it's like Icarus, right? You fly too close to the sun, you get burned, and then you're, But it's one of those things where you really have to find balance of like, I am great and I'm not a piece of shit, but I also am not the best, and I have to learn from others,
Right.
So that's one. And then the other thing was I fell out of being spiritual because of religion, and then I had to find that back again. I recently did. That's actually what this is. This is like,
your faith?
My faith, yeah.
You forgot you let go of faith. Faith, I believe having faith overall is the number one thing.
Oh yeah.
It's not tangible. It's not tangible. You cannot touch it. It's something. It's a faith. It's an energy. It's faith.
Oh, for sure.
And if you don't, and I believe this, if you don't have faith in what you do, you will be miserable. Literally, you wake up with anxiety. You wake up stressed. You wake up frustrated. You wake up to the point where you're like, bro, what am I doing?
Yeah.
What are we going? So faith overall is really good.
Yeah.
I think finding abundance too, like you have to find, as an entrepreneur, I feel like you got to find the abundance in all things, not just pursuing money in abundance, but relationships in abundance, and understanding in abundance, and wisdom in abundance, and being a leader, like all these things. Like I feel like you have to, as an entrepreneur, you have to balance those things.
Yeah.
And I don't believe in the whole like work-life balance thing. I think it's just like live in balance and find it and pursue it. And as you pursue abundance, like it become you realize that you never truly have an abundance. It's always there for you, but you're not like, oh, I'm rich, I'm good, everything's good now.
Yeah.
It's always going to be something lacking, and you always have. I think as you learn to grow and appreciate the whole entire wealth that's in front of you, that you can have true balance.
Yeah. I like stacking stuff too. You know, like, because balance is like, oh, I have to be with these people, I have to be with these people, but I also got to do this and this. So early on, I started working with my wife. I'm like, I have to spend twice the time. Right now, she can't complain that I don't spend time with her. So we have like our business together now. We got an office. She decorates the office. Like, it's part of like.
Hey,
I
somehow
like,
some of the wives always do very well in the office.
Yes.
They know how to decorate it. They're very detailed.
Yeah.
Very turns it into home.
Yeah, so she's been doing that. She kind of manages the employees, the ones that she wants. So like, I find ways to do that. I'm able to go home by like 3 or 4, be with the kids, and then at nighttime I work because like I already spent time with them. So it's like you find ways to like really stack things together so that way you're not having to give up something for another. I think that most people just think like, oh, I got to be at the office all the whole time. It's like if you really set up a computer there and then you just say, hey guys, like I'm gonna come home, we're gonna play for an hour, then I gotta do another hour, and then I'm gonna play with you guys another hour. Totally doable. It's just how do you find those creative ways of doing it?
It's just organizing yourself. Is what it is. That's what I'm doing right now. Organizing. My wife's part of the company too and everything. And we say, we got to go to the gym. We got to take care of our son. We got to take him out. We got to do this and that. Yeah. So we have to, what you want to call it, stack or balance, but you have to. It's really organizing. I have to organize it. I organize we have such detail where it's like, okay, at this day we're gonna be doing this. I have a calendar. Like, all right, boom, check. So it's good, but sometimes you get so deep into that calendar where you're like, get the calendar out of my face.
Yeah.
I just want to just be left alone, But going back to what you were saying, I think it's really important that you need to have that stacking or that stack. You said right, stack.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that I'm working with it and to this day with my wife. And tell you what, having my wife in the company, it's powerful stuff. So you're listening to this, sweetheart.
I love you. Man.
I love you. And then I gotta say too much.
So like, pretty much like I feel like your woman, she's there to pretty much keep you organized, so you can keep your eyes on the prize as far as like doing the work.
Yeah.
Make sure the snakes don't come in your office.
Right.
And
and that's one thing a woman would do. She'll pretty much tell you, tap you, say, I don't know about him.
I don't know about this guy. Like this, the devil never sleeps. The energy never sleeps.
Yeah.
Bad vibes never sleep. And when you open that crack, and you just open up, man. Sleep's going right in there. So you got to have your partner or yourself ready to chop it up, man.
I don't think my wife has ever been wrong. I think she's always been right. I mean, he's not that bad.
Oh man,
this is like okay. And then you realize, like, dang, that guy was worse than you said.
I had to be multi. One time she told me, like, I told you about that guy. But in that moment, sometimes those guys were like, man, bro, what's up, man? I don't know what, man, we're good, yeah. And then your wife would be like, I said, hey, babe, what do you think about that guy? I don't like him. Yeah. No, but that guy's cool. Yeah. I just don't like him.
It's hard to see the picture when you're in it.
Yeah.
And that's what they do. They on the outside to tell you, hey, something ain't right.
And they know. And then believe it or not, it's always good to have a partner that's there for you to back you up, especially if you're running a company with her or you know. And I know that my partner overall oversees everything that anybody comes to the office. She's like, I don't know. I'll ask her, like, what do you think about that guy? Or do you think about that woman? 2, 3. I'm not sure about that person. Or why? Because this, and that. Always ask why. Yeah. You know, I got to find out really what the root is. Why? Yeah. And if she gives me a good reason why, then it makes me think. Then I'm like, okay.
Now you go weigh it.
I see it now. And then I weigh it out.
But also,
yeah, so...
So I know you talk about mentorship, how you had a mentor. Do you reach out to others under you to mentor them?
Weirdly enough, I went to this business incubator in El Paso. And I thought I needed a mentor, right? So I went over there and I was like, hey, I don't know much about you guys, and I wanted to learn more and see if, like, I could get a mentor or, you know, just see what you guys think, right? Because I don't know anything about you guys. And so I started talking. They're like, you should mentor. And I was like, okay. I was like, I guess I'll go find a mentor somewhere else.
You're smarter than me.
So you haven't found nobody up under you?
No, I did. I did find someone, which was really good, right? Like about a month or two later, I found someone, and he helped me. Dude came at the perfect time because we've hired 3 people in 3 months.
Did you seek him, or did serendipity happen?
He told me, because it was a series of events, right? Like somebody invited him to one of our events in December, and then I saw him at another event, and he said, hey, look, I love what you're doing. I really mean it. If you ever need anything, let me know. I'd love to help you guys. I've like made a ton of money in my life, and I just want to give back. And I was like, I'm gonna take you up on that. So I texted him and I said, hey, let's go get lunch. And at that lunch, I said, hey, I don't mind paying people for mentorship. I really don't. Yeah. It just seems like every time I'm about to get a mentor, the first thing they go is, oh, okay, cool. What's going to be this much? And it seems like it wasn't anything about really helping me. It seemed like they were listening, like you said, just to say, here's my pitch, you know? And so I told him that, and he's like, okay, well, I won't charge you, but if I'm not going to charge you, you better do what I say. And I guess he's like a black belt karate. He's like, you better do what I say or I'm going to kick your ass. He's like, and I can. And I was like, all right, like, So he told me a few things, which was, one, when people come in, give them homework. Like, as soon as, you know what, whatever, like, you're going to do this, but I need you to send me this. It doesn't matter what it is. Just give them homework, see what they do, how fast they do it, and how effectively they do it, and then personality test. He's like, you got to know who the hell you're dealing with. Yeah. My wife is super into astrology and, Virgos, and like, I'm a Virgo. So she's like, I have been saying that, but that's her version of, like, a psychology test, right? Like a personality test. But yeah, so now we're doing that, and the people that we've hired, give them something to do. They do it right away, super effectively. The other thing that I've been learning is it takes a little bit longer, right? But we don't hire anybody that we don't know. There's always some sort of like a warm introduction. And because of him, same thing. He's just like, dude, just hire people like if you can, if you already know them and you kind of vetted them out. If somebody else hired someone and they couldn't hire them for some reason, but they were good, just hire that person. Yeah. And so we did, and we were like, oh my God, our company's doing great. Perla, who we just hired, she's the type of person that I tell her, hey, I can't do this, and I don't have time to explain it to you, and she figures it out and gets it done. I'm like, God damn, that's a good employee.
That's great help. I just tweeted that. I said, good help is hard to find, and when you find it, you gotta keep it.
Yeah.
Like, man.
It's funny. I've heard about this, like, mentorship and paying for it. I don't know if I would, because I have a really good mentor by serendipity, and the first thing everybody asks me is like, how much you pay him? And I'm like, what? Yeah. Why would I pay? What? Why would I pay somebody? And I think that takes away, right? I think there's 2 things in mentorship. I could be completely wrong. This is my own beliefs, right? I've been wrong on the show before, so. I'm not gonna say. So my own belief system is this: is that I have my mentors. I'll never ask them for money. I'll always try to give them as much as my truth and help them in where I can, and that establishes our relationship. because I feel like I can make so much more money by the wisdom that they have to offer versus $1.
Yeah.
And I feel like when you exchange funds, if I pay somebody for a mentor, my expectation on you, I'm going to call you, I'm going to get my money's worth, right? But then also, too, if you give me money, like, I know I'm going to have this weight on me to fulfill something for you. And again, it's not, I don't mind them connecting me with money and doing all this other things, but I just feel like it's a sacred relationship that you work on.
Yeah. I told him the same thing, right? Like, I have issues with my father. My father wasn't there, right? So I feel like I need somebody to help me, and then all of a sudden it's like money, and it's like, oh, you were never really even there for me, you know? Like, it was just kind of like a transaction. Like you said.
So how do you calibrate? Do they calibrate with you on stuff, on your projects and your work that you do, or he just mentors you?
Just whatever I need. Like, I feel like I don't need much, right? Like, sometimes I get stuck in certain things, but sometimes we just meet like once a month, and he tells me something, and then I just execute, and that's it. Yeah. But I don't feel like I'm a very needy person, because it's like, if you give me something, I even have a hard time like with speeches and stuff, because I feel that I end them in 15 to 30 minutes. Because I'm like, if you need anything else, there's nothing else. You know what I mean? Like, the rest of it's just story and fluff.
That is it.
Yeah. So it's like, if you mentor me, it's like, what do I need to do? Okay, here's the problem. Okay. Let me try that. If it doesn't work, I'm gonna call you. But it's worked, so there's nothing else to talk about.
Good. So what else you got coming up in the past couple next months? What's going on?
Yeah, we got a business conference July 13th in El Paso. And 500-person business conference. We've done very small events, like 100 to 200 people networking events. But we're going to do a business conference all day. For the CEOs, there's going to be, a dinner the night before for everybody to mingle. There's going to be a VIP after party. Like, that's going to be crazy. So, it's going to be a good time. That's what we're pushing right now more than anything.
Okay, and all this going down in El Paso.
It's all going in El Paso, man. I think part of it, the big thing is that I want recognition at some point for growing that city. Mm-hmm. Right. Because, dude, even coming here, I was talking, with Rick, who was here a while ago, but it's so crazy to have the mentality of people here. We went to like a networking event last night, and everybody's like talking like, oh yeah, money here, money there, we need to do this project. And over there, it's so closed off that everybody just really wants to keep their peace, right? Like, everybody's just like, okay, cool, like, I'm doing real estate and investing in real estate. Don't tell anybody. Mm-hmm. Don't ever tell anybody. And so it's like a gold mine over there, but everybody's like fighting for the same thing instead of trying to grow it. Like, the more people that come, the more the money would go up, right? But it's just a weird mentality.
It's the abundance mindset. Yeah, I've come from San Antonio, and there's this lack of resources mentality that there's an abundance. Like, if you do real estate right, guess what? You can go higher and higher. Look at New York. New York there's no more land, right? Pretty much, it's all taken, right? Yeah. But they're like knocking stuff down and building it up. Yeah. Like, you can't. It's gonna be. There's always a way.
There's always a way. You'll figure a way.
That's good that you're bringing that mindset and that abundance mindset over there and changing the narrative, because I think it's important for a city's culture to change it and people to take charge and to lead that.
Yeah, I'll give you guys a really quick example. They just released, I kid you not, like, you're probably going to be like, no way, was this a week ago? I don't think even a week ago. I think it was on Monday, like 3 or 4 days ago. They released a COVID-19 relief fund from the city of El Paso. So if you were impacted by COVID, you get like a $10,000 grant that you don't have to pay back. COVID ended already.
PPP times 3.
So now, if you were screwed during COVID, now they're like, hey, by the way, we're past this. You must be doing well now. Here's some money. Not during the time, but now.
I had some COVID issues. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, but that's how crazy the city is. That's how behind
it is.
Yeah.
It's like the Valley. I'm from the Valley.
Okay.
I'm from McAllen.
Okay.
Yeah. Bronzo's right there in the borders and everything. Yeah. But I think it's every border. It's like, I believe every border has that. Like, oh, I don't see nothing. And it has, like, for example, the Valley has so much potential. Yeah. There's so much growth there.
The real estate out there.
Real
like
estate
the houses
itself.
being built out there is nice.
That's where I'm originally from. But I've been here in Houston for, like, more than over 10 years. But I'm originally from down there.
You know what? You're going to have to come out there whenever we have another show with the Tuesday Night Mafia.
Yeah, all right.
They be having a great little party out there. We always perform every year.
All right, well, I'll see what's up next time.
You might be out there one day.
Yeah, just hit me up. I'm like, hey, what's up, Sam? Yeah. Hey, what's up? Come over here. I'm going over my way right now.
They shut the city down for us. Like, when we come out there, like, it be everything set off where we walk to the back of restaurants. They seat us. And, like, everything be lavish out there.
Just don't put him on camera. People are looking for him. Really good and the bad.
Right? Well, it sounds like we got a lot of parties going on, and that's it for this time. That's it for It's Time podcast. And I appreciate Ruben for making your way out here and giving us some knowledge and your background and sharing, personal and professional insights.
Yeah, man. Thank you guys for having me.
Yep. And where can people find you at? Instagram, Facebook?
Yeah, Instagram.
The tweeters?
No, just Instagram. That's
Instagram. Right.
I believe in like one platform, right, for everything. So Instagram. I am Ruben Alvarez. No weird stuff. RUBEN.
Okay.
So no TikTok, none of that.
I mean, I'm on there, but no.
It's more Instagram.
All right,
I'm
take you everywhere.
Yeah.
All right, y'all. We out. It's Time podcast.
It's Time podcast with Sam Nunez,
Christopher Lopez.
Goddamn Sam and
Ruben Alvarez.
Ruben.
Not Sanchez.
Yeah.